Hey gamers, welcome back to Amino Acid Mondays. We're going to be talking about glutamic acid and glutamine. So if you saw my previous video on aspartic acid and asparagine, this is a very similar video. So a lot of what I've said in that video is going to apply to these amino acids as well. So let's start off with glutamic acid. Okay, its 3-letter amino acid code is GLU, or its 1 letter is just E. Let's draw the structure out on the right as always. Okay, so this is, again, a very similar structure to aspartic acid. The only real difference is that it has an extra carbon on its side chain. So there's an extra carbon here. And if you remove that, it's basically just the same structure as aspartic acid. Okay, so its IUPAC name is 2-amino-pentane dioic acid. Okay. So if we've got the first carbon here, second one, third one, fourth one, and fifth one, on the second carbon we've got an amine group. And the dioic is referring to those two carboxylic acid groups at the ends. Okay, so it's also known as glutamate. I didn't really say this in the last video, but the same applies to aspartate. Now glutamate, is that how you spell it? I think that's how you spell it. Glutamate is actually referring to its ionic form of glutamic acid, or its charged form. So what I mean by charged is basically, if we just go back to this picture here, if we were to remove those protons on the carboxylic acid group and we gained a proton on the amine group, so we've got a little plus here, this would be what glutamate refers to, which is pretty cool. Okay, so its codons are the GA codon, so the GA codon and the GAG codon, and it's a non-essential amino acid. Okay. And finally as well, if we talk about glutamate for a second, glutamate is actually a very important neurotransmitter. Okay. Yep, and it's involved in nerve activation. So let's talk about now glutamine. So again, just like aspartic acid and asparagine, I put an A there for aspartic, glutamine is going to share a very similar structure with glutamic acid, except the hydroxyl group in the carboxylic acid group will be an amine, which makes the whole functional group an amide, if you remember from the last video. So let's draw this out again. So we've got NH2 here, and then we've got a double bond here. Okay, so instead of that hydroxyl group, we've got an amine. And like I said, this whole bit here is an amide. And remember, the amides in physiological conditions, they're not basic. It's just a polar amino acid, basically. So I said the 3-letter amino acid code there is GLN, and its 1 letter is Q, which is kind of weird. But anyway, so this is a non-essential amino acid, just like the previous. Okay, and the codons are CAA and CAG. So they're actually basically just like glutamic acid's ones, but instead of G's at the start, they're C's. And if you want a fun fact, it's actually, glutamine is the most abundant free amino acid in human blood. So let's just put that here. Okay. And again, just to emphasize, asparagine, just like glutamine, is the same structure, just without an extra carbon here. So we can do the same thing as we did with aspartic acid and glutamic acid.